I have read Genesis 1 more times than I can remember. Each time I have read it, I've come away with questions. How was there light before the sun? Why are there plants before the sun was even created? Each time I read it, I keep getting more and more confused. However, the last time I read it, something changed. Things started to piece together. Now, I'm not saying that it answers everything, but it does turn everything on its end, and it gave me a new perspective on how the days of creation happened. What is it? Grab a coffee and let's get into it. I don't know about you, but each time I have read Genesis, I have imagined God out in an open space and at a great distance from the earth looking down. He says, "Let there be light," and on day one, his light illuminates everything. But the sun isn't made till day 4, or at least the light of the sun wasn't created yet. But there are so many questions just on this, not to mention the burst of light and heat coming from the sun when it ignites. And wouldn't it swallow up the earth? That doesn't sound like a great day for the plants that had just been created the day before. No, this isn't making sense. So yes, it is true that God can do anything, so he can work this simple thing out, but it just sounds clunky. Verse 1 says that God created the heavens and the earth, which would include the sun and the stars. So even before light, this was already done. It still doesn't add up, and I'm sure you would have thought the same. Each time I would look at these verses and it seems or appears to be missing something, I would go over in my head, okay, God is hovering at a distance over the earth in space, saying, "Let there be light," but no sun yet. I mean, just before this statement, it declares that the earth was formless and the darkness was over the surface. There is something wrong. I mean, God created the sun, but didn't light it till day 4. However, he created the heavens and the earth before everything. Not to mention that the earth is dependent on the sun, not just for light, but gravity itself. Okay, this is doing my head in. Then it hit me. Wait a minute. Where is God again? What's his perspective? Let's read verse 1 again. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, sounds straightforward so far. Then we get to verse 2. Now the earth was formless and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. OMG. Am I able to say that in context? I don't know when you read this where your perspective of God is. Is it far off into space? No. It says God is hovering right above the water. It doesn't say how far above. However, I would assume a good distance above to see everything of Earth, but below the darkness, whatever this is, that is, over the surface. Now, I hope you're following me, because, sorry, I'm just getting a little bit excited about this. Okay, imagine you are looking at things from the perspective of God hovering above the waters of the earth, which in the second verse is formless, but under darkness. You can think of it as a black cloud maybe. And remember, as in verse 1, the heavens and the earth have already been created. But because of this darkness or clouds, we can't see the universe or anything at this point. Now, from God's perspective, when he gets to verse 3, he is in the darkness. Then he says, "Let there be light." At this point, his light and his light only is illuminating everything upon the earth. The sun isn't able to be seen yet. It's there, but it can't be seen until day 4, when the darkness is fully lifted. I think of it like a dark fog lifting up or disappearing, and the sun shines through as well as the stars. I feel that I have oversimplified all the events, not to mention that God can do anything, so there's that. I also think that during Creation Week, the rules of physics and chemistry that we know today were not quite set in place just yet. In Creation Week, God is still creating, still putting things into place. The translation of God rested in Greek means stopped. On day 7, God stopped his creation and saw that it was good. On this day, and only the 7th day, everything, including physics and chemistry and everything else, were finally set in place. I know you may agree or disagree with the process I'm suggesting, and I guess I really don't know. But one thing you can't disagree on, and that's the whole point of this, is the perspective of where the first verses of Genesis are taking place. I am certain that it isn't in the middle of space or our solar system looking from a huge distance. God is in touching distance of his creation. And let's face it, where would you be if you were to create something right there at the coalface? Okay, go do something awesome for God. Catch you in the next one.